It's living off the fumes of its former glory, even though it's producing anything good these days. If they continue in this direction, they'll go bankrupt, so you need to cut out the romantic plot and concentrate more on her desire to become IBM's CEO rather than ruining a childhood classic and casting an actress who not only despises the plot and storyline of the film she's in after losing almost $300 million. If you haven't been paying attention, you'd better sit down because Disney is in full collapse mode. We're not just talking about a few poor financial decisions, the entire business is collapsing. It costs $270 million to make $270 million. Snow White may be the archetype of this decline, but believe me, it's much more than just one film. The choices Disney has been making are upending their entire empire, and if they don't make quick changes, everything will collapse. And we're not just talking about their box office results, people. Snow White's monumental disaster just the tip of the iceberg. Let's not forget about all the other Disney remakes that completely failed, like Mulan and Dumbo. Yes, they were a complete bust, but Snow White, that thing went down like the Titanic. Disney is struggling to make a hit, and it seems like they just don't care. They paid $170 million to make the thing, and it had the lowest opening of any of these live-action Disney remakes, with an opening of less than $50 million. Enter Disney's new diversity initiative, which sounds good on paper, but the truth is that it's not about true representation, rather, they're forcing diversity on us, and not for the right reasons. Disney is ensuring that each figure follows a set of rules. Race check. Gender check and background check, but the issue is that they're only doing it to follow the political trend, which isn't how magic is made. It was blatantly leftist on all political levels. The storyline of racial politics, sexual politics, class politics, regime politics, and sexual politics was cowardly and just terrible. Let's take a moment to discuss Snow White. This was supposed to be a fairy tale, a tale of love, magic, and a Prince Charming who comes to the rescue, but Disney changed the plot, and instead of emphasizing the traditional love tale, they made Snow White into a feminist icon. Don't get me wrong, women's empowerment is fantastic, but not when it doesn't fit the plot. This isn't Wonder Woman. This is Snow White, for crying out loud, but Disney couldn't help themselves. It really does seem to me that this is like a 19-year-old version of feminism, right? You've got to reject men, they have to be painted as toxically masculine, you have to spit on true love, like that is not a value that is universal, that everyone aspires to well before they aspire to leadership, right? That it's somehow they're mutually exclusive. By the way, you've got to get rid of this, I guess, the love storyline, and focus more on how she wants to be what CEO of, IBM. They wanted to make a statement, and they did it all wrong. And then we get to the casting. Oh boy, instead of hiring someone who's passionate about the movie and who actually loves Snow White, Disney picked Rachel Zegler, a Latina actress who's about as enthusiastic about Snow White as I am about cleaning my bathroom, but in a movie called Snow White, in a movie called Like the Whitest Lady Ever, Disney presents The Whitest Lady Ever starring a Latina not going to work. This woman flat out said she hated the original movie, she didn't want anything to do with Prince Charming, and even called for a rewrite. Not she is not a fair princess, so it's not some wonderful love tale. What did Disney do? Did they step in, or did they let her play the lead? The movie bombed, which was shocking, but it gets worse. Disney is more concerned with pleasing certain groups than creating quality films. What about the fans who grew up with Disney classics? They didn't care, they completely abandoned their devoted audience and began making films for the wrong reasons. The changes they've made are alienating the very people who initially made Disney an empire. They're obsessed with pleasing Gen Z and catering to political movements. You can have strong, independent female characters who accomplish amazing things and are heroines. I mean, that's great. I don't think anyone has a problem with it. But you don't have to disparage men in the process or call Prince Charming a stalker. Oh, and don't even get me started on the diversity, equity, and inclusion that DEI stuff is all about. Disney has been all about it for years, but instead of making it a natural part of their storytelling, they turned it into a political ploy. The real kicker is that they began hiring based on diversity goals rather than talent, and guess what? That's when things started to go south. It turns out that Americans aren't in love with Disney politics, but wait, they're learning their lesson. Nope, Disney is attempting to make amends, but it's a bit too late. They've paused production on Tangled in an attempt to clean up the mess they made. They're doing some quality checks now, but come on, where was that kind of thinking before Snow White came out? There was a lot of rumors about a live-action Tangled movie, and it seems like it was put on hold because of the Snow White controversy. As if that wasn't enough, Disney decided to follow suit, which is cool if you use it correctly, but Disney nah. They had to go too far with those absurd CGI dwarfs in Snow White, not to mention the fantastical creatures they called them. When the dwarfs, who were meant to be actual characters, were transformed into CGI monsters that